You're right there.
Mm-hmm.
You sure?
Mm-hmm.
My gosh. Who zapped all your energy?
God.
Whoa. What's he doing here?
Fucking things up. Per usual.
Classic. What?
Who zapped all your energy?
Oh, just the usual. I always yawn in the first, 30 seconds. Didn't want to let anyone down. Life zapped all my energy. So, we good to get started?
Yep.
Are you not doing the intro today?
I'm doing it.
All right.
I'm just working through the this,
Are you?
the cold open.
Okay.
No?
Yeah.
You don't think so?
I
Does it
don't
not
know.
feel like it?
No.
Well, I can promise you this entire time you've been inside of a bit.
Whoa.
Because live from Charlotte, North Carolina, this is
M.
Soup. Starring
Shelby.
and
Spencer.
with musical guest
Spencer.
and your host.
Spencer.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to SMSoup, the number one podcast with soup in the name but not on the brain. I am
Spencer.
the aforementioned Spencer.
And I'm Shelby.
And together,
We're
here
here
to take you on a journey through life's biggest questions, like, waiter, how is the soup made?
You're just sending a lot of confusing signals right now. Now I'm tired. Great. You zap my energy.
Now you're tired?
Yeah.
I was baiting. I was trying to bait somebody into telling me that I need to go dance outside.
That only happens if we title the episode.
Oh. Anyway, how you doing, Shelby?
I'm pretty good. Just enjoying. I keep saying it's summer. Is it summer, technically? I don't know. It doesn't matter. I keep saying it's summer.
Is it summer?
Technically.
Is it summer?
Like, are we technically
No.
still in spring? Doesn't matter. I'm calling it summer. It's summer, baby.
Yeah,
Trying to have that big summer energy.
When does spring start? March.
Yeah.
So it's
April,
March,
May, June.
and then it'll go through the 20th of June.
Yeah. I literally
20th.
have June on my calendar that I could probably look right here.
It should be within the 20th through the 23rd, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I just don't see anything on my calendar. Like, Apple doesn't acknowledge summer, apparently, which is a big problem. Anyway, it's summer, baby. And I'm just enjoying all of it. Trying to be outside. Trying to just enjoy life. You look dead right now. How are you doing, Spencer?
Well, apparently I look dead, which isn't good.
Uh-huh.
Because I'm not looking the part,
Yeah.
I'm not dead. I'm still breathing.
Sure.
So, not good to look dead when one is not dead.
Fair.
Typically, I like when dead people look dead. I don't like when dead people look alive.
Has that happened a lot to you?
In my personal life?
Yeah.
In day-to-day? No.
Okay.
Zombie movies? All the time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just tired.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I gotta record this stupid thing.
Wow, okay. Really starting off strong.
Yeah. Well, anyway. I don't know if I've asked you this.
Oh my god.
What is something you do differently than anyone else you know?
What is something I do differently than anyone else I know? Than anyone else I know. Do I really do anything that different? Are any of us really that different? Um,
At the end of the day, we're all just in this rat race
I
that
know.
we call life.
Well, in a very small thing that doesn't affect day-to-day life, I was often made fun of for how I hold a pencil.
Okay.
I like basically form a fist around it, but I don't actually. It's not in the middle of my hand, but I like crunch my hand up weird. That's been a comment a lot in my life, so I guess I do that differently.
Okay.
What do I do differently? I don't know. Do you have an answer?
Well, media intake.
Okay. In terms of?
Because I'm never just, or I'm very rarely just watching or listening or doing one thing.
Okay.
I have to be doing like 7 different things.
Sure.
That's how I got so smart.
Yeah. Do you think?
No. I try not to. Wow.
Wow. Do you think you would ever attempt? I'm not saying I'm also not necessarily a 7 things at once person, but do you? I mean, well, I guess okay. So you tend to like watch
Just ask the
something,
fucking question.
and then you tend to be doing something with your hands on the side. That sounds weird, but like you play video games normally.
Uh-huh.
But like I'm just sitting there and I'm like,
no, but also I
do stuff with your hands.
watch porn and jerk off. I'm
Called
watching something
multitasking.
and doing something with my hands.
But like I'm normally sitting there doing something with my hands. Like some little hobby or something.
Yeah.
I feel like that's become. I'm actually shocked when I meet people who don't do that, because I feel like most of our friends are like, yeah, I sit there while I'm doing something else. I watch and listen to something whilst doing something. Like that is my hobby. Is those two overlapping?
I am playing normally. Like I'm intaking multiple stories at once.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah. Because having to pay attention to a video game that like it is relatively story based whilst
Sometimes.
listening to media.
I mean, other times and a lot of times if we're watching something that's like we're watching it.
Yeah.
90% of my energy is going into watching it. Then
Sure.
I'm playing like MLB.
Sure. Very story heavy game.
Yeah. Or I'd be playing Pokemon.
Yeah.
You know, on the couch. Like growing up, that's what I would do. Right.
Sure.
Like I'd be playing like handhelds and stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of those don't have like a heavy story or anything like that. There is a story, but like
you're not like reading a bunch of stuff
and stuff like that you're worried about doing. So
last night I was attempting to play a story game whilst listening to a story.
How was that going?
It was hard.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. To be honest, I basically, for video games, have the attention span of about 20 minutes before I'm like, I gotta go do something else.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in the very beginning, so they're still just telling me shit. Like, I really am not doing a whole lot. And I was like, didn't really feel like doing anything else, so I pulled my little Switch out. I was like, I'm just gonna do a little bit. And I think I finally got through all the tutorial, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But then they were just telling me a lot to be like, now this is where we're at. This is what you got to do. Blah, 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 blah. This is the big game plan. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. As I'm trying to like watch the movie, let's read all these things that are popping up on the screen. And then like, I was like, I can't do this. And I just turned it off. But also I'd hit about my time limit of, yep, I'm good. It's going to take me years to do anything at that rate.
So what was the question that you were trying to ask?
Oh, okay. Like, I don't think in terms of media, I understand what you're saying. Yes. In terms of you take in pretty intense media sources at once. It is a step beyond just your normal, I do something whilst listening to something. But I do feel like you are someone who kind of needs something going at all times. Like, I feel like I don't want to say you're bad at something, but I feel like you don't often just like sit and exist. You know what I mean? So basically, I think I was trying to get to, do you think you would ever attempt to, like, I guess I'll say, get better at that? Limit that. Because I feel like, I'm not saying you have to. This is just a question. It's a conversation. I'm not trying to say anything. I know you're making a face like I'm trying to make a point. I'm not trying to make a point.
Interesting that you said get better.
Well, I don't know a better word to use. Like, I guess practice, limiting.
No.
'Cause
it's not that, okay, sorry. Keep going.
Basically what I was getting at is roughly, I feel like 2020 to 2021, I felt very overwhelmed that for me, it was a source of anxiety, needing something to be on at all times, needing something to do at all times. And I'm not saying I'm really better, but I would say I remember mentally practicing, just like, if I noticed I was reaching for my phone a lot to just fill a void, I was like, I'm just going to sit for 5 minutes, because why am I reaching for my phone? Like, for no good reason. And I'm not saying that's what you need to do, but like, I feel like I've tried to practice that, and I'm not saying I'm great at it, but basically, would you ever, in a way, try practicing something like that?
No.
Big old shaking your head no. No?
No.
Not interested? That's fine.
Because I think, cliche, but I think I can, at any time, like, be without.
You can stop when you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
Like, if, like, we were like, oh, we're going to do a trip to a cabin.
Yeah.
That has no electricity.
Yeah.
And this and that. It would take me the first hour of being there, and then I'd be locked in.
Yeah. No, I get that.
But I mean, there's always like different distractions and stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, like you can, like, the next thing you can have is a book.
Sure.
You can read a book.
Sure.
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'm really like, I really don't think it's something that I need to improve on. It's not something that I really want to improve on, because I like to try and take in a bunch of different things at once.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've hit my max.
Yeah.
I don't really know what else
you could do.
Start listening to an audiobook in one headphone while listening to music in another headphone.
Oh boy.
While watching a TV show while playing video games.
Whoa.
Yeah, that sounds like an aneurysm.
Yeah, it sounds horrible.
Sorry if that burp got picked up. That one just kind of snuck up on me. So what, yours is just drawing? Writing?
I can't think of anything.
Yeah, it was a dumb question.
Not really. But I just don't think I hyperanalyze any of my.
I don't think so either. I really can't think of anything either. I don't think mine is a very good answer, to be honest.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. I
just sit here and be like.
Well, I guess one thing would be I play video games on mute a lot.
Yes.
And I know a lot of people. I mean, our one friend literally, like, we said it, and he was like, "No, you don't," and I was just like, "No, I do. I actually do."
It is very funny. In case you're listening for the first time and don't know much about us or anything, we stream on your Twitch channel twice a week. No, there's a point to this. Okay. Because we sit here in silence. If you're watching the stream, you hear the game, obviously, but we genuinely sit here in silence, and it's just us talking and watching a game. And obviously, if you don't play video games, you're like, I don't care. If you do, that probably sounds fucking crazy to you. Mm-hmm. But we'll go through most of a game, and then something will happen on the screen that will go, oh, maybe we should hear this. And for the first time, after hours, we are hearing what the game sounds like. Mm-hmm. Like, and you have put hours into that game, and you've never heard it. You've never heard the soundtrack. You've never heard anything. You don't know any sound. And we're like, whoa, we'll be like hours in. Whoa, this is a really cool soundtrack. Like, I can only imagine what that sounds like to someone else who's been obviously hearing the game through the stream, or just plays games and listens to the sound. Yeah, it's just so funny. But like, I mean, not that I really grew up playing games, but like I've just gotten used to it because we're always doing something else while you're playing a game that, yeah, we'd never have the sound on. Like we can't, there's too much other stuff going on. And so it's just completely normal to me to not hear the game. And I forget how weird that is, like truly. Which that is one thing. If we're not watching TV and I'm trying to just, get my 20 minutes in, I do put the sound on very low because I'm like, oh, it's kind of fun hearing the soundtrack.
If we're not watching something,
yes.
Well, or we pause because you went to the bathroom. Every now and again, like enough time will pass that I'm just like, yeah, I need a little bit of sound.
Yeah.
So then I'll turn it on.
Yeah.
But it's like more often than not, I'm playing it on mute because
we're playing something else in the background. Yeah, that's a really good point actually, because I think most people who play video games would be like, what do you mean you don't put the sound on?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny. But yeah, I can't really think of anything I do that is really that different. Here's my day to day. Anyway. Today we're here to talk about today we're talking about life, adulting, but specifically that post high school / college, like it can be either, because I don't want to say just college, obviously, in case someone like people are graduating high school right now, people are graduating college right now. So we're trying to get into the mindset of that post graduation mood and maybe any reflections we have from roughly the past 5 to not quite 10 years, but we're getting there, of graduating. So it kind of feels like we're sort of summing up your early 20s effectively, if we wanted to blanket statement this. We did both go to college, so we will be speaking from that viewpoint. But I just thought we thought it'd be fun to be a little bit reflective. Because our past 2 weeks, again, this is the first time you're tuning in. Our past 2 weeks, we did a bit of a deep dive on mostly privatized education and the cost of it, and
just the cost of
who gets access to education.
Just the cost of higher.
Yeah, higher education. Thank you.
And the good and the bad of it.
Yeah.
Mostly focusing on the bad and the stuff that really needs to be changed because it can be good.
Yes. And the week before that, we had taken a bunch of practiced questions for the GED. And then it kind of brought us to the question of like the GED and, what is education for? And not that we went crazy into it, but we were kind of fooling around and ended up sort of skirting along that conversation. So for our hopeful third and final week of talking about education for a while, we just wanted to be somewhat reflective. Again, we're now quite a few years out from both, so felt like we could maybe say some things. Might not be helpful, might be helpful. I did also poll a handful of our friends and ask if they had anything that they would like, if they could deliver a little piece of info to either an 18-year-old or a 22-year-old or somewhere in between, and like what they wish they knew, what would it be? Which I will just be straight up. Most people were like, unfortunately, all the cliches are true. Every cliche you've ever heard is fucking true. And it's one of those things that you ignore it when you're, 18, 22. But the minute now you're a few years past and you've lived it, you're like, fuck, they were all true. Every cliche is true. So I feel like a lot of the stuff we're going to say is going to sound very cliche.
Don't know you're in the good days until
they're gone. Yeah, or whatever. Yeah. So many of those are like you were going to feel the sentiment of them, just not in advance.
It is so true though. Like that one especially, I think about it. It works for both time frames.
Yes, absolutely.
As soon as you graduate high school, it's like, I think for the most part, our friend group had the realization. Even though half of our friend group from high school was going to the same college.
Yeah. They still all had each other.
Yeah. But like, I think we all somewhat had that realization of like, this is kind of our last good amount of free time. Before we're like worlds apart and not seeing each other every day during the school year.
Yes.
So you kind of like, you hopefully think about that and are on top of it, because that would be my biggest thing. I would say is that like that summer after senior year of high school, before you're about to go again, most likely be away from your friends is to like really get in a lot of that like personal time.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I remember we
It
were
helps.
we were trying to get together like a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
Like a lot.
it helps lay the foundation of
Yeah.
whether or not like those friendships like for the most part will continue.
Yes.
You know, because then you're taking the time as like breaks and stuff like that at school, at college and stuff line up.
Yep.
You're like taking the time to sync up and figure out like when you can all hang out, when you have that, when you know you have that like consistent free time and stuff like that.
Yes.
And then the same thing kind of goes for college. Candidly, I think you and I and our roommate senior year, I think the three of us knew.
Yeah.
And we tried really hard.
We saw it as like, let's take every opportunity we can to like be doing stuff together, because who knows what the hell any of our lives are going to look like in effectively like 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because again, the odds of being around each other post college, like there's no guarantees whatsoever.
Yeah.
Unless all of your friends
Yeah.
are in the same major and you somehow all get a job at the same company.
Or you went to maybe a local school and most people are local and most people don't plan on leaving, or wherever you went to school you don't plan on leaving. You know, like there is some variance, but yes.
But as job opportunities come up and stuff like that,
yes.
you're bound to have to move.
Yes.
Whether it's out of state or not,
yeah.
you're going to have to move outside of that safety net
yeah.
of wherever your college community was. And that's something that I wish like everybody else would have maybe had better realizations of that. I think in a lot of ways, it helps to lay the foundation, truly. And maybe we're the suckers because we moved the furthest away. But it really feels like the line started to fray then.
Yeah.
And it just like has stayed fairly frayed.
Yeah.
You know, like we'll all get together during like big life events.
Sure.
And great. And then like that's it though.
Yeah.
You know, for the most part.
Which there's always going to be a degree of that.
Yeah.
Depending.
I mean, life happens.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just like being like having that awareness.
Yes.
I think is like the biggest thing, and taking advantage of the ease in which you have and the convenience you have.
Yeah.
And again, there's like really laying the foundation and figuring things out and kind of being set up for the future.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge.
I agree. I think like sort of building off of that, because I agree wholeheartedly, you not to like make it sound scary or bad, but you are probably never going to be in that situation of ease of socialization ever again. Right. Most likely, unless you are like literally the most social person on the planet and you are someone who's able to just go out and like consistently surround yourself with people that you like enjoy being around. Obviously it happens, but outside of the school structure, you are who you've already obviously spent time making those relationships. And yeah, whatever. You're most likely never going to be in that situation like ever again, or not anything like that. And so sort of along the same lines is I know I had this opinion about high school, not necessarily college, but high school. I was so ready to just like move on to the next thing that I, which I know we talked about this a few weeks ago, but I definitely had a bit of like a chip on my shoulder of like, I just want this all to be over. And I think we can all get like that about certain things in our life, but there's literally like, I don't want to say there's no point, but there's no point in ignoring what's happening right now because you want something that's happening a little bit down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I think there are definitely like nothing crazy, but there are certain friendships that I somewhat ignored or just didn't give as much attention to as I feel like I easily could have because I was like, this isn't even going to matter to me in 6 months. And it's like, that's fucking stupid. Like, there are still plenty of people who absolutely matter to me, even though I don't live anywhere near them. And like you said, I maybe see them every now and then. And I think there were even a few friendships in college that like I allowed to fray very quickly because of life things, which again, like obviously every relationship goes both ways, but still, I know I could have like absolutely contributed more to certain friendships. But I just was like, again, like ready to move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And that is just going to happen. But yeah.
I also think, again, completely dependent on like when you're listening to this and like where you're at in your life. But like so many people, I mean, one, it's like well known that like making new friends when you're an adult is just like it gets increasingly harder and harder.
Yeah.
And like I had that thought because I think maybe it was when we were hanging out with some new people, and I don't know if like we said it then or what, but basically that is just like a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
To like make friends, but it's just as easy at the same time to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
all of the all of like the like it's just the jumping off point.
Yes.
That is the hardest part.
It's about putting yourself out there, which is like terrifying.
Once the ball is rolling, then it's just the training wheels are already off.
Yeah.
It's just But I like stopped and thought about it, and I was just like, yeah, but when I think about like my parents, and like when you think about your parents, they're friends. How many friends do they really have?
Like a handful.
10 probably good friends, right? Each, maybe.
Yeah.
So like a grand total of 20.
Sure.
Between the two of them.
Sure.
How many of them are high school friends? 0. How many are friends from college?
0.
How many of them are friends because of work at some point?
Most of them.
Not necessarily that they still work together. Yeah. Right?
For most of them.
I think our generation gets kind of hung up on that, where it's just like, oh, my only friends are my coworkers.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
that's very normal.
Yeah. And keep those friends, because you will jump from job to job, but like there's no reason for that relationship to necessarily like be lost. And it'll happen still, but like, yeah, I had that realization. My mom does still have a friend from high school.
Yeah.
But they work together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like that helps. That absolutely helps.
Absolutely.
But it's just crazy. And then I stop and think about us, and it's like we still are close with our college friends, and like I think we have the benefit of how easy communication is. And that also sometimes is a detriment.
Yeah.
It's also, I mean, we all like kind of live in different areas and stuff, which is honestly good and bad, because it gives like it's bad because there's too much distance.
Yeah.
It's good because it gives like the feeling of a vacation.
Yeah, we've turned like, traveling to each other into trips.
Yeah. And like that's great. So that's like one thing that I would say, like almost like don't get too hung up on it.
Yeah,
like,
I would agree.
You're gonna make friendships when you do, and it doesn't really matter like where they come from.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I mean, in my adult life, like post college, the only friends I've made were through work.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much same.
And a good friend, Austin.
Yeah.
Tiki. Like, I mean, wasn't really like a friend necessarily in college.
Yeah.
I knew him in college, right? But like,
yeah, that all kind of just happened after the fact,
right? Like,
and even someone like we had a really good friend in Boston who, like, I feel like we weren't really friends in college. Like, we knew of each other in college, and we were in similar circles, but we weren't until we happened to end up in the same city. We would just like we got really close.
Post college, it was post college. Because he did come and visit us.
Yeah.
And it's like he was one of the only people who came to visit us.
Yeah.
When we had first moved up there.
Yeah.
Granted, COVID happened and everything.
Right.
And he had the luxury of just being able to like bring his work with him.
Yeah.
And we all just kind of quarantined together.
Yeah.
And it was fun.
Yeah.
But
that was kind of like,
And that was
even
that
though
was him kind of pushing
he
that.
put himself out there, like in that situation.
And we were like, sure.
Yeah.
And it was great. And then he ended up living in Boston. And then like now, like, he like jumped to, I feel like, the top of like close friends.
Absolutely.
And it's just funny how that stuff works out.
Yeah.
So again,
It's one of, yeah.
It really does just like, it's, you can get so hung up on it if you like overanalyze it.
Yes.
And then like you kind of also will have the realization that's like, no, you do have good friends. And like, you know, you just aren't the Kardashians or whatever. People need to be. I don't know how that happened. I apologize.
Right. Also, like, friends never come down to, in my opinion, should never come down to quantity. It should always just be quality.
Oh, absolutely.
And because, yeah, I mean, it's literally, I say this all the time. Any tip we're ever going to say is going to be like, do what is good for you. Like, we are both people who really thrive on a small but like close group of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is what has helped us maintain certain high school relationships, certain college relationships, even though like, obviously, yeah, think like life is changing. We see some more than we see others. We've sort of lost contact with some. It happens. But I think because we are those types of people, we've only ever focused on a small group of people.
Yeah.
So, and we have friends who are somewhat similar and also tend to focus on a small group of people. And the few people who have quite expansive friend groups, yeah, like we're still friends, but like you can just tell like there's a slightly different treatment of that friendship, which is all fine. Like that's how they want to treat their friends, and we have a different way of how we treat our friends. Like it's totally all fine and valid, as long as obviously both parties like feel they are getting what they want out of the relationship. So I would say that, yeah, like that has been a feature that has just like, I would say, lucked into the relationships we've maintained. But yeah, like as an adult, it just happens. Like it happens in always the weirdest ways. And I would say the biggest thing, and everyone says this, so again, it's all cliche, but like truly just like having the guts to put yourself out there is the only thing that will change it. Or being open to someone else putting themselves out there. And that like friendships can start and stop at any time.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Like it truly doesn't matter. Like there are so many freaking people on this planet. It doesn't matter. And I had a friend who said that basically her big point was never settle. And she was like, that goes for jobs, that goes for friends, that goes for relationships, like romantic or whatever. She's like, don't. Like there's no point. There's so many options out there. And obviously when you're in the moment and you are like, oh, it feels like a greater barrier to change than it is to just be comfortable. And she's like, literally, if like one thing I want to remind myself consistently, and especially a young person, is like never fucking settle. It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
Like not worth the comfort of settling. And I would say that's one thing that like I like to say our generation is like is more vocal about in a lot of ways, because I feel like we've watched past generations settle and be comfortable and be like, that's just what you do. You don't cause a fuss over it. And I'd say, again, it still is like its own personal struggle, but a lot of us, I feel like, are more like, fuck that. Like, I don't want that. Like, that makes me unhappy. And and like, it's just not where I want to put my energy. But yeah, that was definitely a big one. In terms of, obviously I could go down like the friendship rabbit hole like forever, but in terms of personal life and borderline like career situation, I feel like the biggest thing you can take advantage of in your 18 to 25 age range, let's say, is that whole time period, I feel like, is just learning how you like to function as an independent adult. You are going to finally learn in what setting you work best in. And that might take a lot of trial and error of being in settings that don't work for you. You are going to learn your like communication style, your communication weaknesses, your literally everything, what you are good at on a day-to-day basis, how good you are at maintaining a schedule, how good you are at like maintaining just your own self, not having someone else maintain it for you if you've never had to do that before. Learning what type of support systems you need in your life for whatever reason. You are going to learn all of that shit. I say slowly. It kind of happens slowly. It kind of happens quickly. I feel like that is the biggest thing that you should learn in those few handful of years. Whether that's in a college setting, not in a college setting, but it's going to happen both, because even in a college setting, you learn a lot. But then the minute you're like kind of removed from that, it's a whole new level of like learning how you adjust to situations. And all of those factors apply to the types of jobs you apply to. Once you're in a job, how you handle yourself and others around you. Literally just how you react to pressure is like going to be something you learn about yourself very fucking quickly. Because I feel like most, I'll just say low level jobs, low entry jobs are kind of ones that just throw you in the middle of shit anymore. I feel like I've heard that from all of our friends. Our first few years in our careers, we all just kind of got thrown into the shit, and you are left there to figure it out. That alone is like, how do you respond to stress? What do you like? How do you handle it? What support systems do you have to cope with it? Things like that. That is like a big thing. And that's not one thing that one person can tell you what to do and not to do. That's you figuring out what is best for you and how you need to handle that. And effectively building up your stamina, confidence, whatever, to be able to handle that situation better in the future is kind of like, that's what I feel like the biggest thing I've learned over that time period. Is just, and my friend and I were talking about how we're into a few years into our careers, and we're kind of having these full circle moments of like, oh my God, this exact situation would have had me like falling apart when I started. Like, I would have been crying, I would have been like freaking out, I would have had no confidence, I would have just like thinking I was messing it all up. And sure, maybe it's still not like smooth and perfect, but you can handle it without completely falling apart. Or maybe you're watching someone else go through it and you can be a helping hand in their situation, making it another full circle moment. Yeah, I feel like it's been like kind of that time period where we're finally being able to be like, whoa, like, sure, things aren't perfect, but I feel like I can have a grip. I feel like, I'm not literally just like constantly trying to catch up on everything. That I feel like is like a big one in my opinion. And a lot of people said, most people, because I said they could kind of give a tip on like anything. It could be career, it could be life. Pretty much most people who got back to me said like, don't be afraid to fail. If anything, be ready for it. Because that's all it is like trial and error. Like that's what that whole time period's for, in my opinion. I think life is trial and error, but especially that time period. A lot of people said that, like, just be ready to fail. Not even like, don't be afraid of it. Just be ready for it. Like, it's gonna happen. And that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with it. Because obviously you just never know until you do it. Regardless of what everyone says. Yeah. You don't know until you do it. I'm trying to think if there was anything else like big. On top of, a lot of people said basically practice staying in the moment, being present, because kind of like the whole, what we were getting with the friendship thing, like next thing you know, your life will look totally different. Yep. So yeah, shit is changing constantly.
Right. So like, I think that's like a good like line, or through line when thinking about school and stuff. It's very easy to get caught up in the semantics of, why do I need to know what a hypotenuse is? How am I going to use that in everyday life?
Yeah.
But I think like a lot of school in general is just like being given situations and needing to be able to like figure out the answer. Yeah. Right. Like that's really all it is. It's a lot of just problem solving at the end of the day. It may not always be the most practical. Sure. But like,
that's what they're teaching you.
In a lot of ways, I mean, it's impossible to know what situations you're going to be thrown in. So it's the most structured way in which you can do it. I mean, it's just that, take advantage of the fact that like you're being put in these situations where you're given the practice to do the things. Take it as serious as you can. Especially if you're doing college.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money. Yeah. Like, I think our one friend said, save your money. think that's like a little too pessimistic of an outlook because even for the person who was saying it, like she's going to benefit greatly from having gone to college.
Yeah.
But yeah, you are.
I mean, I
spending a
do
lot of money.
agree. Start a savings as early as possible.
Yes.
But yes, in terms of college, if you elect to go to college, yes, it's a lot of money, but also you can get a lot of great things out of it.
You get a ton out of it. So
Yeah.
take advantage.
Yeah.
Like, and college again, it ties back into like the first thing where it's like take advantage of this like social aspect, take advantage of it all. Just take it serious. Because in a lot of ways it'll help you out. I was just talking to our friend Cody. And he was talking about like an application process for a job.
Yeah.
And the person just flat out like didn't follow what was asked. And he heard that from like the head, the person who like is intaking the stuff.
Sure.
And was like, I get what he was going for. He was supposed to then send it through like proper channels. He sent it directly to the person. Is basically how it went.
Okay.
And the head was like, I'm not necessarily going to like, I'm still going to give him a fair shake.
Okay.
And I said to Cody, I was like, I don't know. Really? Like if I was the idiot who didn't go through the right channels and just sent it right to somebody and I fucked up, yeah, I'm going to be mad. But the only person I should be mad at is myself for not following the instructions.
Right.
Like think about that, right? Like at the end of the day, and there were like spelling errors in like the messaging and stuff. And it's just like, okay, in the day-to-day job, does spelling matter? No, it doesn't. Right? But it's like, but having spelling errors is so much more than just an inability to spell. It's a lack of attention to detail. We have all the systems in our disposal to not have spelling errors, to show that we took the time, the effort, and put the care into the thing that we were doing. Sending it to the wrong place also shows a lack of attention to detail. So like right off the bat, it's like,
yep.
So when you think that like school, like whatever it is that you're learning or something isn't going to like correlate, it's like it like there's so much subtext to everything.
Yeah.
You're gaining so much out of this stuff, whether you want to believe it or not.
Yeah.
And at the worst, at the bare minimum, you might be able to like try out for Jeopardy or win some local trivia games off of what you learned. So like,
yeah,
you know, take it serious.
I definitely.
It all helps train and grow your mind.
Yes.
Whether you want to believe it or not.
Which I would say, kind of going off that point, is something I've really learned is like there can sometimes, especially when you, let's say like in a work situation, you start low on the totem pole.
In a work situation, you start low on a totem pole.
You might have a fear of being the dumb one, the one who needs help, the one who...
And you probably are.
And you kind of should be. You're new. Like, that's kind of the point. And I think that's been... Which this is a huge issue with, obviously, just like, I'll say corporations with work. There's just no one's willing to put in the money and time to properly prepare someone for anything. And so that is why I said almost all of our friends, we've had insane first few years of employment, because you just get thrown into it and it's insane. Like, there's just no training. Of all professions of our friends, very few of us have had proper training for anything. And yeah, so it just is a thing, unfortunately, in a lot of situations. And so you literally should be the one who is confused, doesn't know what's going on. That's not unnatural. Even if you have spectacular training and you luck into that, you're still going to have questions. And in my opinion, that makes you a good employee, a good human, to have questions, be curious, want to do it correctly. And I am someone who had such a fear of asking those questions, being the dumb one, being the one who needed clarification, because I always took it as I am taking up someone's time improperly. Mm-hmm. And if I have learned anything, it is ask the fucking question, because even if somehow it has the most obvious answer in the world. You know what? You just saved everyone time from having by not fucking up, by like making sure we all are on the same page, because maybe someone else didn't understand as well. Like, it's, again, I know that's a cliche. Like, if you have the question, that means someone else does as well. But genuinely, there have been times that I have just gone, hey, for clarification, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And the person I asked it to, who gave me the direction in the first place, goes, oh, I have no idea. Like, that has happened. Yeah. Like, I'm sitting here going, clearly I'm the one who doesn't get it. And the one who told me what to do also doesn't get it. Like, that happens. And it like is mind boggling. But if anything, it's just confirming, ask the fucking question.
Yeah.
Save all of yourselves the time, the money, the effort, the frustration. Ask the fucking question. And that doesn't obviously even go for starting out. But I think especially when you start out, you have those fears, and ask them, literally ask them. And that can be for life too, because nothing is more annoying than when someone just assumes you know everything and acts like you're the idiot, and you might get that answer. But in my opinion, that's better than just sitting there not knowing. Oh boy, what's up?
Interesting.
Oh boy, what did I do? Like, I feel like all of our friends, we would like at times we would like FaceTime each other and be like, just life stuff. Hey, how do you do X? Shit that, like, sure, maybe our parents or schools or whatever should have taught us. Mm-hmm. But also, like, you're just learning as you're going.
Yeah.
You can't remember it all when someone's just saying it to you. When you're 15.
Yeah.
What did I do?
Nothing. Well, I mean, we changed a tire.
Yeah.
Having never been taught how to change a tire.
Yeah.
It was just it was three of us, and we were all just working off of various pieces of knowledge that we knew you were supposed to do from other instances where somebody else maybe had to change a tire, or literally watching a TV show.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, believe it or not, if you're watching something and it has any basis in any sort of reality, it's going to tell you something actually potentially useful.
Yeah.
Like, TV shows aren't just lying to you.
Right.
Right? So, or movies, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you watch a Hallmark film and the woman gets a flat tire, odds are they might give you a key piece of information because, like, she's so ditzy. Oh my God, she doesn't know how to change it.
She needs a man.
She tried to loosen all of the things without lifting it up a little bit first. Or wait. No, the other way.
She lifted the whole thing.
It, and then she tried to loosen it.
Yeah.
But you're supposed to loosen it a little bit before lifting. Just a little.
Yeah.
Not fully.
Yeah.
Just a little.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the mechanic, it's another woman to play out of gender roles.
Oh, nice.
Another woman shows up and they have incredible lesbian sex.
Yeah.
And then she goes, by the way, happy Pride. Also, you forgot that you need to do this. And then the woman who's helping spikes the camera, winks, and then you walk out of the theater because it was a Hallmark film and you're watching it in a theater.
Whoa.
And you walk out now with a newfound knowledge.
And a Hallmark film showed sex?
It helps out. Yeah, all the time. And it helps out because you got to the movie theater and you had a flat tire. So there you go.
Yeah. Like life stuff. Again, it can feel embarrassing to ask, but like, fucking ask. Like, who cares? You're giving me a face like I have done something to you. And
you have.
I'm sure I did.
You have done something to me.
I'm sure I did, but
you just ruined my perfect ending.
Sorry. But yeah. Anyway, do you have anything else?
I don't.
I know we really only hit on like 3 big things, but I feel like they kind of sum up everything.
I mean, I can't even think of like just a lot of taking advantage of the time that you have.
Yeah. Because I kind of think, just to sort of end it, I do think being in a structured school setting makes you always like, and the next thing, and the next thing. And like, you're just ready. Like, you are always like, oh, I have to do this for this amount of time, and then I move on to the next thing. And yeah, that is life, but it will never feel that structured ever again.
No.
It is never like, it is no longer an equation that you know the answer to. It is now just free flowing. And one day you look back and you go, oh, fuck. It's really different now. Mm-hmm. So I think that's where it comes into just like literally just enjoy what is happening right now to the best of your ability. Because probably in 6 months you'll look back and it'll all be different.
To put a morbid spin on it,
Okay.
everybody's going to die at some point.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh, except me.
take advantage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of everything that you can.
Absolutely.
Take advantage of all opportunities and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, I'm going to go play video games and watch a movie.
Spencer's going to go play video games, watch a movie, listen to an audiobook, and write a song. Okay, well, thank you all for being here. If there's any, you know...
End of the podcast and I'm writing a song and the song is going to end the podcast. You can find our socials underneath our video and in the description of this episode. Shelby's nodding and Spencer is singing. They're ending this episode clinging to life.
And with that, we will see you next week. Bye.